So what we're going to talk about today is making a very basic rye whiskey. When I say basic, we're not going to get deeply involved with enzymes and stuff like that. We're just going to use the simple basics like in the last video. But we will be talking about enzymes in future videos and making more complex mashes. So again, carrying on with the basic theme of being able to find stuff locally, easily, we're going to go with that theme, and we're going to use some simple things. And first, we need rye. So where are we going to get rye from? Well, I've looked around and I really don't see much in the way of rye. I was hoping to find some rye flour or some, rye anything, but the closest that I can find virtually anywhere is rye bread. So we're going to use that. The only other thing that I found was rye bagel chips, and I didn't want to throw in the garlic. Didn't want garlic in there. So you might, but I didn't think it would be good. Another thing that we're going to do, we're going to make this a multi-grain. So we're going to add some other simple things. We can add some corn flakes. We can add some rice. I have some rice checks here. And we can add some wheat. We have Wheaties, and we can also add some barley. And I have grape nuts for that. Now, the basis for a rye whiskey is to use at least 51% rye. Well, you know me, I've never been one for measurements. We'll try to approximate something real close, and it'll be close enough for what we're doing. So we'll take our nice clean empty tub here, and we'll take our rye bread. We'll just take the whole thing and we'll dump it in. And we have 16 ounces of rye bread. Now that also has some wheat in it. I don't know if we want to add that, count that as our wheat or not. We're just going to work this out as we go along. Now to that, I definitely want to add some corn. So you know what? I'm going to use these taco shells, because we want a small proportion of other ingredients in there. And that's about how much corn that I would add to this if I was using corn flakes. This is 4 ounces. That works for me. And we just throw them right in. And we're going to add some wheat and barley. So we'll add some grape nuts. How much? Oh, let's take a coffee cup here. Now it's kind of hard to say how much that is. Let's get a measuring cup here. We don't have ounces on here. According to this measuring cup, this is 8 ounces of fluid. We'll roughly say that's another 4 ounces, maybe 6. And we'll throw that in there. Do we want to add some rice? We could. I don't think I'm going to. I don't think rice belongs in a rye whiskey. You might have a different opinion But we're gonna set that off the side. We're gonna say that we got enough grains in here. And now we're going to need sugar. And again, I am done using white sugar, so I'm going to use brown sugar. And we're going to add roughly 4 to 5 pounds of sugar to this. So this bag right here is 2 pounds. And throw that in. And I have some raw sugar here. Now, if you want to use other sugars other than white sugar, go ahead and use them. If you want to use molasses, if you want to use the coconut palm sugar, if you, anything besides white sugar. My days of using white sugar are over. And so I'm going to, how much is this? This is 3.7 pounds. So we don't need the whole thing. Let's take about half of it. That works about right. That's about 2 pounds. Throw that in. This was 4 cups, by the way. Now the coconut sugar here, I plan on making a drink with that here in the near future. Now, I've preheated some water to about 100 degrees. And we'll take some of this water and we will get our yeast fermenting. Now remember, I don't use any set amount here, but if you're counting, this is a half tablespoon. So throw in 4 of those. And if we're going to count yeast, well, let's see here. We'll make it 2 and 2. 2 tablespoons of sugar. And 2 tablespoons of yeast. And I always use a fork when mixing up the yeast. I like scrambling eggs. Helps break little pieces up. And we'll let that sit. And now we will add our water to the mash. Now we're just going to fill this to the top. I don't have any set amount of water. We're just going to put our ingredients in and then top it off with the water. And again, this has been preheated to about 100 degrees. Now there's no need to cook this. I mean, if you're going to do the enzymes, yes, you will need to put it in a pot and bring it up to about 150 degrees and use the enzymes. But I am not using enzymes in this case, so we're just using the basic grain, sugar, water, yeast recipe that you've seen 100 times on YouTube, but we're just taking another twist on it. Okay, so the 5-gallon mark is about right here, and I've filled it to about here, so about 4 3/4 gallons. We'll stir this up. You can smell the rye in it. Now everything in here is going to soften up on its own. The taco shells, the grape nuts, everything is going to soften on its own without cooking it. So there's no need to cook it. What we'll do, we'll just let this sit for a minute until this yeast is a little more topped off, and then we will add that to the mix. Okay, that's not bad. We got like that much foam. You can let yours activate a little longer if you want. To me, this is good enough. And we'll add it to our mix. Make sure that sugar's stirred up on the bottom. Okay, and we'll give this some time. We'll see how it does. Okay, so I've let this sit for a day. There's our bread floating on top. I can't really see any bubbles, but I know I heard some. Oh yeah, look right there. There's some foaming. We peel it back. Yeah, this is starting to work. These little things look like our grape nuts. Oh yeah, look at that, right? Yeah. Okay. We got some bubbling action, even though it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah. You can still smell the rye in there. Okay, we're doing good. Alright, let's get everything back down to the... Yes, we're doing good on this. Oh yeah, now you can see some bubbling. Oh yeah, there we go. Yep. Okay, we're doing good. So now we'll cap this back off and we'll let it set for a week or two. Probably 2 weeks, just because that's just what my schedule's like now. Okay, so it's been 2 weeks now. Let's see what we have here. Oh yeah, we have alcohol. I like the color. Yeah, I am smelling a little rye in there. I wasn't sure about that at first. How are we doing on the taste? Oh yeah, it's there. You don't notice it at first, but the rye is in there. Again, this makes pretty good beer. You keep the bubbles in it, and you have a nice rye beer. You really don't taste it at first, but after a few seconds, you can taste the rye in it, definitely. So now what I'm going to do is, I have a second cooler. This was the one I was originally using. The lid's kind of messed up on it. It still seals, but it looks like crap. So I went and got a new cooler. So now I have the spaghetti strainer, and I have the cheesecloth on it, and I'm going to take as much of this as I can, and I'm going to transfer it to the other bucket. And we got, I don't know what this is, it's a little oily. I'm not sure what that is from. It might be from the bread. Probably from the bread, because they do use a little oil in bread. A little oil on top of the beer. Doesn't seem to affect it though. Everything seems to be going a little smoother than usual. Alright, that should be enough to transfer it, the rest by dumping it in. Oh yeah, much lighter. I'm not gonna see, there's some a lot of sediment at the bottom. I'm not gonna try to fish that out. I am going to let that be and then rinse that out, and I'll try to squeeze the rest of this. There's not a lot of fluid left in that. There is a little bit left in that, so we'll let this drain and I'll get this rinsed out. Bread pudding. Okay. Take the ends, pick pick all the corners up. Channel squeeze. That's good. There's still a lot of water in there, but everything that's coming out is murky, so we'll leave that just like that, and we'll get rid of it. So here's our final beer. How's it now that we stirred up everything? More yeast. Excuse me. More rye. You can definitely taste more rye in that now. Potent. Very potent. All right. So because I don't have enough time to distill this, but I don't want to let it sit any longer because it might start growing mold if I let it sit too long. I had an experimental batch of rice whiskey that did that. So, I mean, it should be good for another week sitting like that, but let's not take chances. So, what I'm going to do is I've gathered as many empty jugs and bottles that I can. I'm going to transfer it to these, and then I can store these in the refrigerator or outside in the shed where it's cool, right? It's still cool right now, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a scoop and funnel. What that takes 2 hands, so we'll get that done. I'll bring it back as soon as that's done. Okay, so that's done. So we got 1, 2, 3 gallons. There's a couple of smaller bottles. That's 4 gallons. And old vodka bottle, roughly 4.5 gallons. So that should keep just fine in the refrigerator until I can get to it later. Okay, so here we go. It's been 2 weeks later. This has been in the fridge and a couple other jugs. And it's given a chance for the yeast to settle, which is, it's fairly important to some people. It's not important to me. The little bit of yeast in there is not a big deal, but a little clarity is not a bad thing with this. So this sat in there for 2 weeks. It's ice cold, and it's only sat in there for 2 weeks because this just happens to be my next chance to be able to get at it. And so we're distilling it now, and I've decided to give it a light oaking, a light aging. So we've got a few of the Jack Daniel's wood chips, the little ones that just happen to fit through this spout. So there's our finished product, and we already have a slight darkness on there, and it'll keep getting darker. So there we go. There's our finished product, and the taste of this is pretty good all on its own. I can see why people like rye whiskey. A taste on its own without any aging is quite unique. I can't say I definitely taste any rye specifically, but the taste is quite unique compared to the last batch of corn whiskey that I made. So there you go. One batch of multi-rye whiskey.